What's up YouTube, and welcome to the Anabolic Outpost. And a couple days ago, I was in the gym, just doing my thing, and out of the corner of my eye, I happened to look up at one of the gym TV screens, and it has been proven for the 231st time yet again that artificial sweeteners cause cancer. And the 230th time I heard about this, I was still a little bit skeptical, so immediately I had to jump on my phone and do some research to see if this is correct. Who may not necessarily be the most mainstream news source, but I still believe that they are pretty credible. And if you look on Google and you see all sorts of these studies, 2 days ago, 3 hours ago, 6 days ago, and you could just continue to scroll down and there's more and more studies popping up about how artificial sweeteners cause cancer. And right off the bat, I'm thinking in my head, why would they have to continue to prove and prove again why it caused cancer? Why wouldn't they just have one news headline and then that would be over, and then years and years they could just constantly reference the one study? But right off the bat, it's just making me a little bit skeptical, because if you search up artificial sweeteners cancer at any time of the year, any point in human history really, there will still be new articles being posted, and it really just doesn't make any sense why they would have to continue proving something that's already been proven. Moving back to the article here, the title is Artificial Sweeteners Used in Diet Sodas and Snacks Linked to a Higher Risk of Cancer, Study Finds. So right off the bat, anybody that is skimming through this and sees this headline would immediately be scared, and especially anybody that consumes sweeteners themselves. So we can now go ahead and just jump right into this article, and I'm just going to look past the first couple paragraphs here. In the second, it's a little bit important, just saying that it's 102,000 total adults, so a decent sample size, will give them that. And then it has an average of 8 years of follow-up. That is quite a long time, and I will be covering that in just a moment here of why I think that is a little bit too long of time. Right in this third paragraph, this kind of explains what I'm talking about, in the sense that it says that 13% have a high risk of developing cancer compared to those who did not consume artificial sweeteners. But yet it doesn't go into depth at all of what high risk means, and I don't think that 13% is a high number at all. Even if it was guaranteed complications, 13% at high risk doesn't sound like a lot to me, especially considering that it was across 8 years. And it doesn't say the age of these people, it just says adults, so these people could already be towards the end of their life and experiencing health complications in general. And that's kind of what a lot of these studies tend to do, is they go over correlation and not causation, looking at the fact that most of the people that do consume artificial sweeteners are consuming them for a reason, and somebody that is generally healthy wouldn't go out of their way to consume artificial sweeteners, because most of these sweeteners are in stuff that is marketed as diet products, and those people wouldn't need to go onto the diet if they're already healthy in the first place. Now, on the other hand, people that are already having health complications such as obesity, or even at a high risk of anything at all, would generally not be too healthy in the first place, and in a quick effort to fix their health, they would just think that they could just swap over to artificial sweeteners instead of sugar, and that would make their health instantly better, when in reality it doesn't. So basically what I'm trying to say here is the majority of population that consumes these sweeteners are already in a state of unhealthiness as it is. And you could probably just think in your own personal life, thinking of the people that drink diet soda or consume any sort of artificial sweeteners. Most of them in the first place are already unhealthy as it is. And then just moving on to this fourth paragraph here, it says that aspartame and acesulfame K, I'm not really familiar with that second sweetener, but we all know aspartame. It's really the most popular sweetener in Diet Coke or any diet soda. And because it's popular, they're obviously going to mention it, because this 13% that they're talking about probably consumed that sweetener in general. Now, if you think of a different sweetener, such as sucralose or any of those other artificial sweeteners that you see the anabolic community using, I guarantee you the average person wouldn't even be able to name an artificial sweetener past aspartame. And this is exactly what I'm looking for here in the fifth paragraph, the first sentence here that says, the results show correlation and not causation and need to be replicated by more larger scale studies. So right there, they're admitting that this is just correlation and there's no actual data that causates that artificial sweeteners cause cancer. And then it goes on to say that it needs to be replicated by more large-scale studies, but even if they did the same study with a higher population of people, it would still produce the same results and it would still be a correlation without causation. They need to do a completely different study in general if that was the case. So I can't really disagree with this statement here that says that the recommendation is to limit processed foods with either added sugar or artificial sweeteners. So they're recognizing right there that sugar or sweeteners, if it's processed, it's generally not going to be good for you. But generally is the key word there. Sometimes there is processing that actually makes foods healthier. Think pasteurization in milk, for an example, that makes the milk healthier. And the same example there with milk, sometimes they'll even add vitamins to it that weren't naturally in there in the first place to further make it healthier. But somebody that's just skimming through this article that doesn't know much about health themselves, they're just going to see this paragraph and just think processed foods are bad, like you see all over the internet in the first place. And it continues to talk about specific side effects in this next paragraph, and I know this is a personal anecdote, and I'm not really a fan of them myself, but I've suffered from migraines my entire life, and I've had them before I hopped onto artificial sweeteners and after, and it hasn't changed the frequency of my migraines one bit. Once again, a personal anecdote, not really connected to science, you could take that with a grain of salt. But then in the next sentence here, it talks about more than 100 studies have suggested that it's safe for the general population, according to the FDA, who, as most of you know, are in charge of approving foods and drugs for the United States. And I just don't get it, because the FDA are one of the most credible administrations out there for food and drugs, clearly, as they're literally a part of the US government to approve foods and drugs. So the fact that there's over 100 studies that are suggesting it's safe, and these people are still coming out with other studies suggesting that it's not safe, just blows my mind. And then down here it also talks about how it has increased cravings, which once again I really don't think is a fair point, because if you have increased cravings for sugar, just continue to eat the artificial sweeteners and those will tone down the cravings. It's not like artificial sweeteners are going to completely wipe out your sugar cravings. You're still going to have a sweet tooth and get cravings for sugar once in a while, but if you could just substitute with those sweeteners, it would help you tremendously if you're trying to stay in a calorie deficit. And they're just wrapping it up here in the last 3 paragraphs. Nothing really notable to read right there. And obviously this is clearly an article against artificial sweeteners, but I was still surprised that they didn't really go into depth at all, that these artificial sweeteners have 0 calories most of the time. And like I was mentioning earlier, they could be an incredibly helpful tool if you're trying to stay in a calorie deficit and substitute all your sugar throughout the day with the sweeteners. That would help you out quite a bit to stay in that deficit. And I also like to clarify the point that I'm not arguing that artificial sweeteners are healthy for you by any means. I do think they're slightly healthier than sugar, but with both of them, they should be used in moderation. Just like sugar, and whichever one you decide to use, you should still keep that in mind. And as most of these articles are, they never actually go into depth about what takes place in the study, or really any details on the study itself. It was a very brief section, and then they just spend the rest of the article mumbling on about all the side effects and different complications that you could have that are supposedly proved by the study that they never go into depth on in the first place. So obviously, if you're familiar with my channel yourself, you will know that I use quite a bit of sweeteners on my channel, and I felt that this was a video that needed to be made simply for that fact. I'm honestly surprised that over 50 videos have been uploaded on my channel, and yet I've never gotten a comment telling me about how bad artificial sweeteners are, so it's great to see that I'm attracting the right type of people to my channel. But I still wanted to make this video and have this video uploaded just in case anybody wanted to hear my stance on sweeteners. And I may make some more videos following up on this in the future if they come out with some more bogus studies. If you would like to further discuss this article or any of the things that I've talked about in this video, comment down below and I would love to start a discussion with you down below, as well as other members of my community. And even further than that, you got something useful out of this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It really helps further the growth of the channel, and if you'd like to support the channel even more, consider purchasing some of my kitchen equipment through the Amazon affiliate links down below, or supporting my Patreon, all links down below. Completely optional. Other than that though, thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.